Bueno, entonces vamos a empezar hoy la conferencia del profesor Manabu Sato. Bienvenidos a todos aquí. Profesor Manabu Sato fue el profesor visitante a nuestro centro de estudio de Asia-África hace como ya casi 20 años, 2001年ですよ。2年ですね。2001年、2001 fue profesor visitante, estuvo unos meses, y después de esto ya hemos tenido como 3 o 4 visitas a nuestro centro. Hemos tenido simposios, 3 simposios organizamos sobre la educación comparado, ¿no?, de situaciones educativas en Japón y México. El profesor es especialista de pedagogía de la Universidad de Tokio, doctorado en la Universidad de Tokio, y después, durante mucho tiempo, ha enseñado en la Facultad de Educación en la Universidad de Tokio, después de estar teniendo experiencias en otras universidades, pero desde hace como 40 años ha hecho una práctica muy particular que sería como clínica educativa, clínica pedagógica. Cada viernes recibía las personas que tienen interés y problema a resolver en cuanto, por ejemplo, método de enseñanza o de problema de bullying, problema de planeación educativa, problema de integración en la área, comunidad. Entonces, cada escuela, cada maestro, cada planeador educativo que tiene algún problema, el profesor se ofrecía a resolver estas experiencias bueno, problemas. Y en este proceso de investigar juntos, él desarrolla un nuevo concepto de metodología de educación, pedagogía basada en concepto de comunidad de aprendizaje. Énfasis en aprendizaje, no en enseñanza, porque pedagogía, pues tradicionalmente se entendía, es como ciencia de enseñar, cómo enseñar, y lograr que sea efectiva la enseñanza. El profesor desarrolla ese concepto de una tarea colaborativa entre los educandos, o sea, los alumnos, maestros, padres de familia, planeadores, administradores y la comunidad aledaña de esta comunidad. Esta propuesta el profesor aplicó en una escuela primaria y después también en secundaria en Japón, con una colaboración de la autoridad local. Se hizo una experiencia muy particular que llamó atención, y resultado muy positivo de esa escuela convenció más número de maestros de las escuelas, y así, a pesar de que tal vez su propuesta no iba en el sentido como es la orientación del programa oficial ni del Ministerio de Educación Pública, pero va ganando terreno, digamos, no sé cuántos porcentajes de escuelas, pero muchos maestros, muchos padres y los mismos alumnos que han regresado a través de este método están convencidos y recomiendan. Y esto a su vez se va conociendo fuera de Japón. Hay invitaciones de lugares donde hay mucho problema. Por ejemplo, Aren, en Ciudad de Nueva York, ¿no?, o en Corea del Sur, China, en diferentes partes lo invitan, y junto con los pedagogos, maestros interesados, va experimentando también el método que se ve efectivo y que ha tenido bastante eco y cada vez más está. En caso de México, pues yo diría, a pesar de que el profesor ha visitado varias veces, no ha sido muy, como no hubo una manera de anclarse, arraigarse, tal vez por un poco situación educativa particular y de política educativa de este país y la transición que está ocurriendo, a pesar de que esta situación particular parece que esta vez el profesor ha tenido una posibilidad de experimentar su concepto de comunidad de aprendizaje a través de maestros investigadores entusiastas de Universidad Iberoamericana. Esperamos que esto sea un comienzo de una pues, aplicación en México también. Yo creo que el problema es el concepto de comunidad de aprendizaje está usada aquí, quizá de manera no exactamente como está planteada. Y entonces esto también se hace un poco confusa, pero que esperamos que una escuela modelo puede ser un comienzo de. Porque yo sé que en México, en varios lugares, en campo, o sea, en el campo como en ciudad, hay maestros y grupos que experimentan, hacen esfuerzos similares. Y esperamos que esto sea un buen momento de enlazarse. Hoy, profesor Manabu Sato va a hablar de la cuarta revolución industrial, o sea, de la tecnología de comunicación y el futuro de educación post-COVID-19. Vamos a pedir al profesor. Va a ser en inglés.
Yeah. Buenas tardes. I cannot speak Spanish, so I would like to speak English, okay? At the beginning of this conference, I would like to express my thanks in the medium Professor Michiko Tanaka. Michiko Tanaka is very respectful professor for me, and also best amigo okay, for 20 years. And I have been to Mexico 6 times. And the first time it was 1997. And 2001, as Professor Tanaka mentioned, I was a visiting professor of this El Colegio de Mexico. And during the visiting Mexico, I have been to many places and visited many schools and discussed with many teachers and learn from them. So I would like to discuss with you about the critical issue of the fourth industrial revolution and the future education under the COVID-19. And okay. Even before the onset of COVID-19, an emerging consensus in the sciences of learning and development highlighted the fact that developing students' abilities to learn requires more attention to cognitive and metacognitive strategies, focusing on deeper learning. Furthermore, it is increasingly clear that students' social and emotional experiences influence their learning, and that teachers must learn how to integrate these areas of development to be effective. The expectations for deeper learning with greater equity have raised the bar for educators. With the advent of the pandemic, even greater efforts are called for in meeting the social emotional needs of children and implementing trauma, and healing informed practice, all while making up for learning loss and preparing for the coming unpredictable combinations of distance learning, blended learning, and in-classroom learning. This unbelievably complex scenario would challenge even the most well-prepared, stable, and experienced teacher for workforce. This is a total duration of school closure. India, 69 weeks, Mexico, 66 weeks, Brazil, 65 weeks, Indonesia, 64 weeks, United States, 58 weeks, Canada, 51 weeks, Korea, 39 weeks, Germany, 38 weeks, Australia, 29 weeks, UK, 27 weeks, China, 27 weeks, Russia, 13 weeks, France, 12 weeks, Japan, 11 weeks, Iceland, 6 weeks. The effect of school closures was more for children, infection. School is the best place for children to keep safe against COVID-19. Among COVID-19 confirmed cases in US children, 0.1% to 1.9% have led to hospitalization. The mortality rate is much lower, with children representing no more than 0.26% of all COVID-19 deaths. In Japan, 0.03% of hospitalization and 0.00% deaths, even under Delta and Omicron variants. So, children are the biggest victims of COVID-19, I think. Despite that, school is the safest place for children, and that children are not likely to be hospitalized by COVID-19. 186 countries around the world closed their schools for an average of 7 months, 10 months in developing countries and 3 months in developed countries. In 2020, school closure for nearly 16 months in Mexico was very, very serious, I think, very serious situation. In Japan, during the 2 to 4 months of school closure, only 5% of schools delivered online class. Learning was mostly abandoned because in Japan, the school closure decided by ministry bed suddenly, very, very suddenly, okay? So no teachers and no school could not prepare the school closure. It's a terrible situation. And the socio-economic damage is very, very serious. 67% of single mothers in Japan experience unemployment, no money, okay? 36% of families of single mother experienced days when they could not afford to eat. No eat days, okay? And suicide among children has increased drastically, 30% up by the pandemic. And school refusal has also increased heavily from 120,000 to 200,000. Internet and computer game addiction has also increased among children. According to the survey, more than 50% of fifth grade children were captured by this game addiction. Okay. Learning loss is a very, very important issue to discuss with. Learning loss means the difference between normal level and the damaged level. The straight line, you know, in the figure, the straight line. The straight line in the figure is the level of learning that should have been reached, normal level, okay? And the broken line representing the learning loss is caused by school closure and subsequent restrictions. The learning loss is calculated in 3 ways: forgetting and foregone at the time of school closure, and future loss due to the fact that the cumulative rate of increase in learning is lower after school opening than before the closure. As a result, the learning loss is calculated to be more than 30% in developing countries and medium countries, and 70% to 20% in developed countries. Education is a human right enshrined in Article 3 of Mexican Constitution. However, according to a unanimous study, more than 70% of the deaths associated with COVID-19 in Mexico are associated with people who have a low level of primary education. Various studies have shown a global scale a more significant investment in education for girls from basic levels, adolescent pregnancy, and therefore provides a great opportunities for mobility for the girl, her family, and the country in the future. The Interior Department of Mexico says a total of 5.2 million students under 18 did not register for classes last year, and that domestic violence increased 24% in the first quarter of 2021 compared to the same period of 2020, before the pandemic gained force. The department also cited increases in child homicides and teen pregnancies, rises which presumably resulted in part from kids not being at school. Since March 3, 2021, UNICEF had called on the Mexican government to return to face-to-face instruction, citing the learning crisis that existed in Mexico even before the pandemic began. 80% of elementary students failed to reach expected levels in reading comprehension and math for their age, a problem that will increase significantly given the scarcity of resources many of these kids can count on at home. Returning to face-to-face classes was essential, though the federal government's planning did not instill much confidence. Without powerful remedial measures, the World Bank estimated that the learning loss that has already occurred is going to cost Mexican students, on average, 8% of their future income. Yeah. Very serious situation. This is a landscape progress of school learning community I promoted in Japan from 2021 to 2022. I visited many schools and organized, promoted collaborative inquiry, even under the COVID-19. Okay. These are the landscape. These are most of these schools are bottom line of poor area, but they continued to do running collaborative inquiry. So their status drastically raised up even under the COVID-19. In the other side, the fourth industrial revolution has been accelerated under COVID-19. As you know, the fourth industrial revolution was proposed at the World Economic Forum in 2016. AI and robotics, information aggregation, and big data via the Internet of Things, IoT. According to the World Economic Forum's report, Future of Jobs in 2020, 29% of labor had already been mechanized by 2020. The report predicted that 52% of labor will be mechanized by 2025, just 3 years later. Okay? And so, 65% of jobs that 12 years old will take will be the jobs that don't exist today. That means most of the jobs of current children will be more intellectual, advanced than today's labor. Okay. A World Economic Forum also reported, published a report in January 2020. The title is School of the Future, defining new models of education for the fourth industrial revolution. These are these 8 areas of new educational content, which will be required under the Industry 4.0. The first is global citizenship skills. The second is innovation skills and creativity skills. The third, technology skills. Fourth, interpersonal skills. Fifth, personalized and self-paced learning. Sixth, accessible and inclusive learning. Seventh, problem-based and collaborative learning. Eighth, lifelong and student-driven learning. Okay. Under the school closure, most of nations introduced ICT education. Okay, but I am very, very skeptical the effect of ICT education. Okay, the longer computer is used at school, the lower students perform. Okay. This is OECD report, PISA results in 2015. Why? Why computers do not work so effectively? PISA 2015 report made it clear that the longer computer is used at school, the lower students perform. The upper figure indicates the relationship of computer using time to the test score of reading literacy. And the lower figure, the relationship of mathematics. And the question is why the results are, you can understand, okay? To the right, the computer use, the time is more, okay? Computer use at the school. And horizontal line is test score, PISA test score, okay? Question is why the results are, I suppose, the two answers are thinkable. One is that current usage of a computer program as a teaching tool is wrong. The other is that ICT education is less suitable to inquiry learning in depth than face-to-face collaboration at the classroom. If my interpretation is true, we must re-innovate the mode of computer use, not as a tool of teaching, but as a tool of collaborative inquiry. Okay, this is another report from by McKinsey in 2020. The conclusion is the result concluded the best result comes when teachers alone use devices. The worst when teachers sorry, I mistaken. When students alone use, okay. I mistook. The best result comes when teachers alone use devices. The worst when teachers alone, students alone use. Look at the left side, the student only, teacher and student, and teacher only, okay? and reading, math, science. Okay. Okay. The red means the damage. Okay. Black means the effect. Very, very small effect. Damage is huge. Okay. Computer user, we have the two general logical lines of computer education. CAI, computer-assisted instruction, versus computer-assisted learning. Okay. Since 1960s, computer introduced to education. Okay. CAI, computer-assisted instruction. This is computer as a tool of teaching. The pioneer of this line is B.F. Skinner, very, very famous the behaviorist psychologist. And teaching machine he invented, program learning. Program learning is composed of three principles. One is the operant condition, okay? And the second is immediate feedback. And the third is a small step organization, okay? And B.F. Skinner regard learning as SRR, stimulus, response, reinforcement. So this is SRR theory, which is derived from the animal experiment, mainly rats. You know, this is a theory of learning theory by animals. Okay, so current learning scientists and education researchers do not adopt this theory because learning of human beings is very more complicated. It's mainly the social, cultural practice. Okay, not SRR, but social, cultural, and even political practice. The another line is computer-assisted learning, computer as a tool of learning. This pioneer is Sema Papat. Sema Papat is a mathematical professor, mathematics professor, and computer science professor, and even education professor at Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Okay. And Sema Papat studied with, in collaboration with Jean Piaget, the famous Jean Piaget. He regard learning is a constructive activity of making meanings and making relations. Piaget, Dewey, Vygotsky, and Brunner, these are the basic theory of this line, okay? And his successor is Alan Kay. Alan Kay is also the computer scientist in MIT. And he is very, very famous to invent the personal computer, okay? So very famous man. And Alan Kay also think about learning as a constructive activity, okay? And currently, Mr. Resnick is succeed. They think computer as a tool of inquiry and collaboration. Their conclusion, they said, computer should be a pencil, okay? Okay. So, a computer should be a pencil at classrooms, okay? This is the best way to use computer. Okay, this is a landscape. Computer as a tool of collaborative inquiry in SLC, okay. I introduced the computer and the tablet to classroom as like as a pencil, okay. Yeah. In the other side, ICT education market becomes a huge market, okay? Huge market. Expansion of the education ICT market under COVID-19. Education becomes now a big business, big business. The crisis, this result in crisis of public education. The annual growth rate of the ICT education market went from 14.7% to 16.8%. Now, the largest market, 5 times more than the size of the automobile global market, okay? Car market, 5 times more now. By country, the growth rates are most pronounced in China, South Korea, India, and countries in Southeast Asia, Latin America, and Africa. India is Asia and Asia areas with the most explosive growth in the ICT education market. In India, the very typical stream of current situation. In India, a large number of public schools, nearly 50% have been outsourced to ICT companies or educational companies and shifted to LFP schools. LFP schools means low fee private school, okay? Very cheap school, okay? And this trend is occurring on a global scale in developing countries, where the school closure period was long. In developed countries, the same situation. For example, even in Sweden, 20% of public schools have already bargained to ICT industry and educational corporations. Very, very neoliberalism. That's a neoliberalism. With COVID-19, the smart education and learning market, the size of the market for schools without teachers is assumed to reach 783 billion in 2027. Okay, so this is a current situation in the global world. What should we do? What should we do? Okay, equitable education and re-innovation of learning. These two canons are very, very critical for us. Educators need to be increasingly knowledgeable about how to engender authentic and meaningful learning so that students are engaged in quality learning in ways demanded by the complexities of modern life. These are also pedagogies to be developed. The 2018 TALIS surveys, 48 countries, 260,000 teachers found that fewer than 60% of teachers reported giving tasks that require students to think critically. Just under half have students work in small groups to come up with a solution or let the students solve complex tasks. Only 1/3 give student tasks for which there is no obvious solution. And fewer than 30% give students extended project work. So the reality does not change, okay? It's not changed. This is two types of innovation. Clayton Christensen, very, very famous professor of Harvard Business School, defined two types of innovation. One type is disruptive innovation, and that creates a new market and value network. The other is sustainable innovation. That meets the needs of present generations without compromising the needs of future generations. And so, disruptive innovation is revolution, okay? And sustainable evolution is, innovation is evolution, okay? Different, two types. Under COVID-19, we need to promote both of disruptive innovation and sustainable innovation in school reform. And before discussing how to do for school reform, we must recognize the difference between the 19th and 20th century style of teaching and 21st century style of instruction. Okay. In the 19th and the 20th centuries, teachers were teaching professionals. They worked mainly by mouth, okay? Talk, chalk, and joke strategy. Okay? Their main activities were planning lesson, explanation, questioning, and evaluating students. Country-wise, teachers in the 21st century are not teaching professionals, but rather learning professionals. They work not by mouth and chalk, but by ears, listening, eyes, observation, and brain, reflective thinking. So, the main activities of contemporary teachers are not teaching, but design of learning activities, coordination of collaborative inquiry, and reflection on learning. Thus, design, coordination, and reflection are three keystones of professional competencies of current teachers. There are many surveys about teachers' activity in 1980s, okay, in the world. Such data displays 80% of talk were teachers, okay? It is teaching in 1980s, but currently very different. 80% of the time of our lesson is devoted to students' work, okay? Students' collaborative work, and the students talk. So very small part of teachers talk, okay? This is a very drastic change. This is a starting point to innovate the classroom, designing an environment and relationship for the 21st century style of learning. You can see the 21st, the classroom arrangement, 19th century style and the 21st century style, very different, okay? Okay. Constructive listening relationship at the classroom. This change, I have been to 30 and been to 700 more schools in 34 countries, many schools, many countries. This change occurred in 1980s and the 1990s. At first, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand, okay? And then the change diffused to the Scandinavian countries and the European countries. And okay, inquiry and collaboration are two core features of learning in the 21st century style. Inquiry cannot occur without collaboration, while thinking is capable to do it by oneself. On the other side, collaboration without inquiry is meaningless at classroom. In other words, inquiry and collaboration are intrinsically combined in learning. Collaborative learning is relied on listening pedagogy, DUI, and zone of production development, ZPD theory. ZPD theory is very famous, by Lev Vygotsky. By Lev Vygotsky was the very fantastic the psychologists in 1930s of the Soviet Union. Okay, at the zone of professional method is a gap between what a student can do independently and what they can potentially to do with the help of a more knowledgeable other. The figure displays ZPD. So learning is occur this zone, learning is occur this zone. Two types of teaching. The type A, teaching or learning in pursuit of understanding or right answer. Type B, teaching or learning in pursuit of inquiry. Type A, teachers mainly teach meaning of knowledge, while type B, function of knowledge. Teachers mainly teach function of knowledge. Gradually, Japanese teachers have transformed their teaching from type A to type B. This is another another classification. Teaching or learning process. Two types of teaching or learning process. Type C, teaching or learning knowledge, and then its application. Okay. Type D, teaching, learning, knowledge through application of activity. Okay. Learn through activity, or understand and activity. Okay, very different. Japanese teachers have also recently shifted from type C to type D. Okay. My approach, teacher design type A of A and C in sharing tasks. Sharing task means the textbook level, and jumping task. Jumping task is advanced level. So I promote teachers design two tasks. Okay. While the former one in one lesson, and at first the sharing task. Second task is the textbook level, and second is jumping task. Jumping task is advanced level. Okay. These are the landscape of inquiry learning through collaboration. Okay. In Japan, the innovating inquiry and collaboration. Joseph Schwab is a dual-year education researcher. Schwab pointed that education has been separated to two modes: teaching rhetoric of inquiry for democratic citizens, and teaching rhetoric of conclusion for slaves. Okay? Since ancient Greece. Okay. On the other side, Schwab proposed inquiry learning based on his elaborated conception of two structures of academic discipline. Substantive structure. Substantive structure is a content structure, content knowledge structure, and its meaning. And syntactic structure of a mode of inquiry or thinking and presenting the content knowledge. The inquiry learning is mainly relied on the syntactic structure. And Gregory Bateson, he is a philosopher in the United States. Gregory Bateson pointed that learning is composed of two aspects: learning and knowledge. He called this proto-learning or learning one, and learning how to learn the knowledge. Okay, learning the knowledge. This is learning one. Learning how to learn the knowledge. Okay, this is learning two. Okay, yeah. Learning one is visible. You can see, observe the learning one at classroom, and you can check the learning one by test. Okay, but the learning two is invisible. Okay. Okay. uh, which is more important? Which is more important? Learning 1 or learning 2? Of course, learning 2, because if learning without learning 2 is just accumulation of amount of junk information, no useless for your life, okay? But in my approach, school learning community, SLC, we call the learning 2 as authentic learning. But very, very serious question. How to teach learning 2? How to teach learning 2? This is a very, very serious question, okay? Most teachers teach learning 1. But how to teach learning 2? The way is just one. The teacher make student to do or to inquire the problem solving, okay? So inquiry is a best answer. Listening relation and exploratory talk and authenticity are 3 keystones for high quality of learning. Listening relation, my approach for school learning community, as you know, is fundamentally relied on listening relationship. Listening others' voice is a starting point of learning, and even a springboard of learning. Okay. And also, the listening relationship prepares a democracy at the classroom. Listening relationship makes students and even teachers to be main actors at classrooms. And exploratory talk. Once Douglas Barnes, former professor of London University, differentiated 2 modes of talk in group communication at the classroom. One is presentational talk. Presentational talk is this is this, okay? I think this. My idea is this, okay? Presentation, okay? And exploratory talk. Exploratory talk is not presentational, but searching for. If this is this, what kind of relationship this and that? Okay. Exploring, searching for. Okay. The exploratory talk is significant for collaborative inquiry. It can be a strong vehicle both for inquiry and collaboration. The exploratory talk derived from the listening relationship generates dialogic communication of inquiry. But most of the school and most of classroom teachers talk and the students are dominated by monologue. I think, okay? They are not dialogical. So we must change to a monologue, from a monologue to a dialogical discourse, okay? The listening relationship is a key point. Okay? Authentic learning. Authentic learning is discussed by various definitions. Some define it as learning in real context. The other, learning for inner truth. And the other deems it to be elaborated high-quality learning in reality. I regard it as learning to, which Greg Benson defined, not learning to a knowledge, rather learning how to learn the knowledge. And I would like to explain one more thing, the difference between plan and design. Okay? Plan is predetermined before practice, okay? But design is generated and revised through practice. Okay? So design is conversation with the situation. So design is always changed, conversation with the situation. Okay? Plan objectifies and controls the objects and makes them tools. Plan controls teachers' work and student activities and teaching materials. So main function of plan is control. Okay. Design is very different. In design, relationship of subject and object is intersubjective, interactive, and reciprocal. Teaching design activates student activity, material, and teacher activity. Okay. And plan is determined by objectives. Okay. Objective, do or perform, and evaluation. This is a cycle of planning. Okay. So, but design is determined by vision. What kind of school do you want? What kind of learning do you want? Okay. What kind of classroom do you deserve? So, design is determined by vision. So, design, practice, reflection. This is a cycle. This is a cycle by design. So, plan is suitable to labor and work, but design is suitable to social and cultural practice. Okay. I would like to recommend to introduce or promote school learning community approach, because SLC is a representative of 21st century model of school reform, deeper learning, and teacher professional development. SLC is not a recipe or a technique or even a formula, but a set of vision, philosophy, and activity system. SLC is not a single approach, but an integrated practice for active, collaborative, and reflective learning. Learning-centered lesson study, professional collegiality, school autonomy, and the democratization of school policies in pursuit of realization of human right of learning among all children, and professional growth of all the teachers. SLC is fundamentally relied on listening relationship, as I mentioned. Listening others' voice is the starting point of learning and even a springboard of learning. The listening relation makes communication dialogic, and dialogue enables learning to be jumping with peers. SLC is not a movement, but a network, so that it is decentralized. We have no boss, no center. Okay, many teachers and researchers have asked me, in SLC, you are boss, you are the center? No, you are the center. Your classroom is the center. Your school is the center, okay? So we have a very, very flexible networks, okay? And equal network. So each teacher, each school, and each network are all each centers. Fortunately, we have a powerful and sophisticated global network. Okay. This is a democratic feature of SLC. Dignity of each child and each teacher, dignity of learning community is a respect community. Human right of pursuit of happiness of learning jumping. Protagonist means the main actor at school and classroom. No child left alone, no teacher alone, no parent alone. This is very important, okay? No child alone, no teacher alone, and no parent alone. So we make a community, and a caring community. School should be a second home, I think. And the professional autonomy based on the democratic collegiality. Teacher is a learning professional. Okay. The three philosophies of school and learning community. First, public philosophy, openness and collaboration against privatization and tribalism derived from neoliberal ideology. Most of the current situation, most of teachers close their wall at the classroom. Don't enter my classroom. Okay? Don't disturb my work, okay? This is a dominant culture of current teachers. But we must open the walls of the door of all the classrooms and open the door open all the mind of teachers. So, philosophy of democracy, child, teacher, and parent are all protagonists, as I said. Democracy is a way of associated living. This is the definition by John Dewey. Respect of dignity and diversity of individuals. The democracy is constructed with listening pedagogy. Listening relationship prepare the democratic relationship at classroom and also at school and also at local community. And philosophy of excellence, challenge to the best, both in teaching and learning. So we always said, learning is jumping, learning is jumping. Okay, this is the brief history of SLC in the world. And I invented this approach in 1992, just 30 years ago. The first of all, my workplace is in Japan. And we organized 300 pilot schools, and the network includes 3,000 schools, very, very big and large network. And from 2001, my approach is expand. My approach expands the wings to abroad, many countries. 2005, some local boards and schools in Mexico introduced my idea of school as learning community. So Mexico is the starting point. And 2001 and 2002, at that time I was a visiting professor at Harvard University. So I could made a robust network of school teachers and school principals in the United States and China, South Korea, USA, Vietnam, Indonesia, Taiwan, and Thailand, UK, okay, and many Asian countries. And some Asian countries adopted my idea and my approach as a national policy, okay? Vietnam and Indonesia adopted my idea and my philosophy and Korea, the national policy. Okay, so very strong network. I will show you some landscape of SLC. Episode 1, learning independently with collaboration. As I said, listening others' voice is a starting point of learning and even the springboard of learning. Caring relation makes learning robust. Caring is not an intervention to others, okay, but a response to others' voice. Okay. It is truly an act of responsibility. Okay. I will introduce a typical scene. Okay. You can see the photo. Okay. This is a classroom, the first grade. Okay, in Osaka area. And the lesson is mathematics lesson, the first grade. I would like to ask you, who is the hardest child? Who is the hardest? You can see, girl. We have blue sweater. Okay, she is the hardest. Her name is Sora. It's funny. Sora means in Japanese the sky. She always looking up sky. Okay, and she prefer blue sweater. It's very funny. The second is a boy. The second hardest is boy behind her. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Spending 15 minutes of looking up around. Okay. Empty spaces with walking around the classroom. Okay. And Sora suddenly asked to Kaori, the neighbor girl, okay, what are you doing? Kaori smiled and sincerely responded, can you run with me? Okay. Amazing. I took a photo. Amazing. Okay. Amazing that Kaori handed over her pencil to Sora at this moment. So it's a very, very impressive for every child has a great possibility to be a wonderful carer, okay, and a wonderful learner. Then Sora nodded, okay. Oh yes, I will try all the 4 tasks. And Sora challenged. In mind, okay. These tasks are quite easy for me. Then she had completed, okay. But look at the lower photo. Kaori was shocked and troubled. Oh my God. All her answers are wrong. No way. Just after that, Sora shouts, aha, I was confused. Kaori adds, oh yes, you are confused. The two laughed together. Very, very beautiful photo, okay, scene. I was so impressed with this scene, okay. They laughed. They very, very delighted to laugh. Not because they can perform the task, but because they reflected their mistakes. Okay, that's very interesting. Very interesting. Okay, and then Kaori whispered to Sora, "You are great to find out your mistakes, but." Sora thought in mind, do not disturb me. Because she is strongly involved in learning, okay, at this moment. Thus, Sora performed all the tasks. This joyful photo, as a photo scene, repeated 4 times. Wow. 4 times, okay. And at this moment, I thought, oh, a very small story was finished. Okay, so I started to stand up, okay, because I sit down the photo. But the story had not finished. Sora, I will challenge again by myself. Okay, Kaori cares Sora, keeping silence. Very beautiful sign. Okay. This is the landscape of the activity based on the school learning community, the philosophy and the activity system. Okay. I would like to explain the context matters, meanings of incidents in this classroom. This SLC landscape is pictured at most at-risk school in Osaka area. The school is characterized with 80% of the poor children, okay? 36% of learning disabilities, and more than 30% of non-Japanese children from 16 countries. Very, very hard school. Therefore, before introducing this approach, the school stood as the worst position in achieving test score and promoting behaviors among 700 schools in Osaka. But SLC approach miraculously changed the school. The school diminished problematic behavior drastically, no problem behavior, and raised up achievement tests from average 18 points, very low, to 72 points during 5 years. The success is so miraculous that NHK-TV broadcasted a special program, and Asahi newspaper issued a special report, 2 pages. Okay, I would like to show you an example for designing the sharing task and jumping task. This is the second grade, okay? And this is also math education. The content is subtraction of carry forwards, carry backs. Do you know? Subtraction of carry forwards. For example, 21 minus 14. This is okay. Okay, distribute cards. This is the second grade. The first grade of elementary school, the second grade of elementary school, they cannot do group work because of they are immature of development of inner speech. So we introduce a pair work by two students, pair work, okay? And distribute cards with numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 to each pair of children, okay? Sharing task. Choose 2 of these numbers to make two two-digit numbers and subtract the smaller number from the larger number. For example, 72 minus 27 equal 45. Okay. 2 and 7, 72 and 27. Okay. And if the answer is a two-digit number, use those 2 numbers to make two two-digit numbers and subtract the smaller from the larger 2. In this case, it's 45, 4 and 5. So 54 minus 45, okay? And continue subtracting in this way until the answer is a single digit, okay? Let's try this task, okay? Each child was paired with a challenge. All children gradually became engrossed in learning. 31 minus 30 is equal 18. Next, 81 minus 18 equals 63. Next, 63 minus 36 equals 27. Next, 72 minus 27 equals 45. 54 minus 45 equals 9. This close, okay. And 4 and 1. 41 minus 14 equals 27. 72 minus 27 equals 45. 54 minus 45 equals 9. Close, okay. Wow! The children whispered, whoa! The answer is 9 again, okay? Next, 72 minus 27 equals 45. 54 minus 45, 9, close. Oh. Also, 9 is the answer, okay? So, yes, the answers of all the 36 ways of subtraction are 9, okay? So, you can imagine that how enthusiastically and the kids involved in learning. Okay, they challenge to try all the 30 ways of subtraction. Okay, jumping task. Find out 3 hidden rules in this calculation. Find out 3 rules. Okay. One is already they recognize. All the answers are 9. Okay. And the second, multiple of 9. All the answers are multiple of 9. Okay. And the third is number of neighbors together is 9. Okay. So, okay. This is a typical case of the designing learning tasks. Context matters. What happened? The school's academic performance was the lowest among 400 elementary schools in Mie Prefecture. This second grader had particularly low academic achievement. Therefore, the teachers designed sharing tasks at textbook level and jumping tasks, advanced level, in every class to achieve inquiry-based collaborative learning and high-quality learning. As a result, 3 years later, this school achieved one of the highest levels of academic achievement in the prefecture. The introduction of jumping tasks contributed to making children's learning exploratory, collaboratively, and authentic. In addition, the learning design contributed to professional development of the teacher. Okay. What does the professional community look like? What does professional community look like? Its components include things like consistent and well-defined learning expectations for children, frequent conversations among teachers about pedagogy, and an atmosphere in which it's common for teachers to visit one another's classroom to observe and critique instruction. Inquiry-based professional learning community in SLC. Collaborative inquiry through professional learning communities and networks, lesson study, action research, peer observation, and reflection. A time for collaborative professional learning at average from 15 to 20 hours per month, plus 100 hours per year. So in SLC schools, the lesson study and action research by teachers are the core part of school management. Okay. Learning, teachers' learning is the core part of school management. Okay. So, construction of collegiality and autonomy is a keystone of SLC approach. The network of school learning community recommends the following approaches. First, all the teachers in the school should open their class for lesson study at least once in a year. So, if the school has 30 teachers, the school arranges 30 times of lesson studies, okay? Observation and discussion. And the construction of collegiality should be the keystone of school management. The lesson study should be transformed from the evaluation of teaching model to the reflection of learning model. So we discuss, we do not discuss about teaching skills, teaching methodology, but we discuss about what happened at the classroom, how students learn, and how students fail, and what is the possibility of learning of students. So students learning is a focus, not teaching, okay? In junior school and senior high school, the lesson study should be organized not by subject group, but by the teachers of each the same grade, because the student is the center, okay? Not the subject. Okay? And each teacher should set up his or her personal research cell. This is the landscape of lesson study conference at school. the left side, all the teachers observe the lesson, one lesson. And then they discuss what happened at classroom, and how the students learn, and how students fail, and what is the possibility of learning in this lesson, and in each group work, okay? And then share among all the teachers at school and neighbor teachers. These are the landscape. So, professional community and its network of teachers rather than evidence-based teacher education. A teacher cannot learn and develop alone. This is very important. Teacher cannot learn and develop alone. He or she needs associates and consortiums of professional community for his or her development. Professional community is constructed not by evidence-based practice. Accountability policies by neoliberal ideology and policies, but by collaborative inquiry of professional wisdom among teachers. If professional communities of teachers are networked, it facilitates professional learning beyond school, region, and national borders. SLC has we have 300 private schools and 3,000 schools join this network in Japan. And also, we have the global network. SLC has a global network where 2,100 researchers and teachers join from 31 countries. Okay, very strong global network we have. Conclusion. First, children were the biggest victims of the COVID-19 disaster. There is a need to realize equitable education that leaves no one alone, and to innovate learning toward high-quality learning for recovery of learning loss, okay, and prepare the future under the industry 4.0. The learning loss due to the COVID-19 is enormous, and children's future well-being is being deprived. No, in Mexico, because 2 weeks ago, I presented in Indonesian Association of Education Research. Okay. These are emergent issues. Okay. In other side, the fourth industrial revolution is accelerated under the pandemic. 65% of the jobs that 12 years old will be the jobs that don't exist today. Jobs that are more intellectually advanced than today's. So deeper learning is critical. Fourth, the keys to the innovation of learning are listening relation and exploratory talk, learning as jumping, and authentic learning. It's necessary to develop a caring community and to further promote inquiry with collaborative learning in pursuit of authentic learning. Fifth, the pandemic will not return society to the way it was. So I dislike the word new normal. we cannot go back to the normal. We must construct a new world, new society, new school, okay? So, a new society, I deserve a sharing, caring, and learning community. New schools and new classrooms are required. Finally, teachers need to be provided with more opportunities to learn. Learning teachers only are blessed with the happiness of their profession. Thank you. Thank you for your attention.
Bueno, tenemos todavía como media hora para poder intercambiar. Si hay alguna pregunta puntual para aclarar o quiere comentar algo, por favor, levante mano y creo que hay alguien que le va a pasar micrófono.
Hola.
Okay.
先生ご発表ありがとうございました。誠にありがとうございました。どんな言語で？
スペイン語でやって、あと日本語でお願いします。
Yo le quería preguntar con respecto a el uso de computadoras en la clase. Es una pregunta muy específica. ¿Qué piensan los alumnos sobre eso? Porque creo que muchos alumnos quieren usar computadoras en la clase. 授業でパソコンを使うことについてお聞きしたいんですが、なんていう生徒たちの意見は何ですか？その調査があるでしょうか？生徒たちがそうですね、そのパソコンを使うことについて生徒たちがの意見は何ですか？そういうことをお聞きしたいんですが、生徒たちが多分パソコンを使いたいと思っていますのですが、それをお聞きしたいんですね。
Okay, very good question. Students' idea are thinking about the computer use. Okay, the question is how students think about computer use. Okay, and I don't know. Students are very flexible. If teachers use the computer as a teaching tool, they accept. Okay, if teachers use computer for collaborative inquiry as a tool of learning, they accept. Very flexible. So, in other words, very dangerous. They cannot criticize the use of computer. So, teachers need to more thinkable the way how to use a computer at classrooms. Okay. And as I mentioned, the best way of computer use is like as pencil. A computer is a tool, just a tool. And in any case of the tool use, and the transcrepancy of interface, okay? You can understand transcrepancy of interuse is very important. For example, if you ride a car, which is a handle, which is the axle, which is brake, very dangerous. We cannot drive a car. But if the car and me, transcrepancy, we can drive a car unconsciously use of the tools. Okay? So transcrepancy is very important. And for students, I think the computer use should be transcrepancy in interface. So, the best way of computer use is use like as a pencil. Okay. This is not my idea, but Samuel Papat and Alan Kay and Michel Resnick proclaimed the same thing. Okay. This is my answer. Thank you.
私質問いたします。en qué idioma? Bueno, まずじゃあ日本語で質問して、それから後でスペイン語にしましょうね。この、コミュニティオブラーニングのアプローチを、年齢の つまり
あ
赤ちゃんから大人になってすでにいろいろ活躍している人たちまでずっと通して使えるんだろうと思うんですけれども、その場合に年齢の発達に応じて、例えば普通教育のプログラムというか、ペダゴジーはそういうことをいろいろ考えてやるわけですけども、それとの競合性というのはどういうふうになっているでしょうか。Mi pregunta es que este método de comunidad de aprendizaje seguramente puede ser utilizado desde bebé hasta la gente ya adulta que ya está trabajando como profesional, pero ¿cuál sería entonces consideración de evolución, ¿no? El proceso evolutivo de un ser humano y el uso de este método?
Very, very good question. I think the school learning community is very useful, not just the elementary school, secondary school, but also useful, effective in kindergarten and nursery, and also the university classrooms. Okay. Because I introduced my approach at classes at the university and also the graduate schools. Okay, but a bit difference is the developmental stage. Okay, I differentiated the second grade. Okay, the second grade and the third grade. Because the second grade, the first and the second grade, I promoted classroom. I will show you. No. I will show you a photo. Oh. No. Okay. Just a moment. Okay. You can see the upper right. Okay. This is the first grade and the second grade classroom, and U-shape. Okay, and pair work by 2 students. But the third grade, fourth grade, and seventh, okay, and secondary school and senior secondary school, the four people, okay, a group work. This difference is derived from the developmental stage, and the child of first grade and the second grade is immature of inner speech. Inner speech means we have a language, okay? There are 2 kinds of language. One kind of is inner speech. The outer is outer speech. Outer speech is a tool of communication, okay? Inner speech is a tool of thinking, okay? And in childhood, child development, outer speech developed earlier, okay? Inner speech developed later. Okay? So, kids in early childhood or the first grade, the second grade, they can speak and they can communicate with others, but they cannot talk to oneself, to me, okay? Cannot do the dialogue with oneself. This is very, very different. They have immature of inner speech development So if we push dialogical communication at classrooms, if you, okay, this is a good example. If you, at first grade classroom, if teacher says, think alone, think by yourself, okay? All the kids, what shall I do? Think by myself. Okay? So they cannot think alone, okay? And they cannot do group work. If you introduce the group work at the first grade and the second grade, the classroom changes chaotic. Okay? So this is the best arrangement. You say and pair work. So this is a small change, a small difference of development according to the development level. In the kindergarten and in nursery school, very different, some different. You know the Reggio Emilia approach in Italy. Do you know? This is a very, very famous approach of early childhood education. I introduced the Japanese kindergarten and nursery. And this approach is also the school as learning community. But the activities are very different. And not learn mathematics and not learn literacy, okay, no. But they express their activities, artistic music, or the art, okay? And they construct learning community within a school and also outside the school and local community. The same approach. Okay. So the kindergarten and nursery school level is the same idea, the same philosophy, the same activity system, but content of activity is different. Okay? And arrangement of school learning community is different at the first grade, the second grade, and then the same. Okay? The third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and junior, eighth, ninth, and senior high school, and even in the university. The many university professors in Japan introduced this system. Okay. Okay.
Yo llegué un poco tarde, así que me disculpo si ya lo había comentado, pero quisiera saber cuáles son las principales resistencias, sobre todo políticas, organizacionales, que han encontrado la implementación de estos sistemas. Y si además ve diferentes resistencias en los distintos países en los que se ha implementado.
Very, very good question. Very good question. SLC approach is basically political, fundamentally political, I think. So in Japan, and in China, and in Indonesia, in Vietnam, and also in Mexico, many struggle against to introduce and to diffuse or disseminate of this approach. In Japan, because the SLC approach is social democracy philosophy, political philosophy, social democracy, not a neoliberalism. And it is so radical approach to innovate learning and innovate school. So many constraints and many struggles. And for example, in Japan, very, very serious problem is prefectural dimension. Prefectural dimension. Prefectural government occupied by the conservative policies, okay, politics in Japan. And they introduced neoliberal policies in education, accountability policies, and they check the test score, achievement test score, and control all the public schools. And also the education board of prefectural board of education always evaluate teachers and control them. So, but city level and town level and village level board of education are democratic. They have no money. Prefecture board, prefecture government have so much money, but city board of education, the village board of education, the town board of education, no money. Okay, this is the difference. But they are democratic. Okay. And if we show the pilot school, the neighbor teachers and neighbor principals, they are, most of them agree this approach. Most of the teachers and principals wanted to do this approach, okay? So, that's kind of politics, anytime political, okay? In China, very, very different, very complicated. Most of the principals and teachers want to do this one. For example, my book, all the teachers in China have read my book, okay? Amazing. Every year, the top bestseller in education, my books, okay? But very complicated, very complicated, as you can imagine, okay? But teachers are teachers. In any country, teachers are teachers. We live in a similar community of education. So, thank you.
¿Alguna otra pregunta? Sí.
Muchas gracias por su conferencia. Yo quería saber cómo se prepara a los profesores para implementar el sistema SLC en las escuelas.
Very good question, very good question. It's a tremendously hard work because, as you know, the Japanese teachers are all prepared by the universities, university education, and the university professors of education, including me. But I am exceptional. I think most of the education professors are very conservative, very authoritative. They do not respect teachers. They cannot learn from teachers. They cannot learn from children. Okay? This is a very, very serious problem. So new teachers are not democratic and innovative, but conservative. So school is the best place for re-educate the new teachers. Okay? So collegiality within the school and the professional community at the school is the very powerful for re-educate teachers. Okay? This is my answer. Okay? I love Mexico. And I love Mexican education. And I love Mexican teachers. So I would like to continue the SLC network from Mexican teachers and Mexican professors. Thank you.
Vamos a tener unos 10 minutos para si quiere descansar y vamos a ir a la pecera para tener reunión de los estudiantes de maestría y no sé si había alguien más que quería unirse allá en la pecera para conversar con el profesor y ustedes van a hablar ahora.